Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
Joshua Shrum. He is a very talented steward, very knowledgeable.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. This is one of those podcasts where I listen to every episode. I love what he's putting out there.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. Josh Shrum.
Parcels of knowledge. Does a fantastic job with that podcast.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Lately, I have been a little bit tired considering the fact that I did like 13 podcasts all in 1 week or whatever it was. I can't remember, but I'm back at it, and I do want to finalize my final chapter of the summarization of the convention with a campaign I didn't get to talk to. It's not the man himself, but let me let him introduce himself here.
Hey, my name is I'm John Poskin. I've been a carrier since 2001. I've been a union official since 2014. I'm currently the vice president of NELC branch 4016 in the south suburbs of Illinois. And as you can see from my hat, I am on the Caref Campaign and been assisting with the Caref Campaign for president and was doing so at the national convention.
All right. So, yeah, I had coverage of every... Well, shit, I really only had coverage of the Lou Drass and the Rhine ticket for the most part while I was at the convention, but I did catch up with Corey Walton on the way out, but I never got a chance to catch up with Mike Caref. So what were you guys doing during the convention? What was the campaign doing? Mike Caref, how you guys how was your convention?
Well, as far as the campaign goes, there was a few things going on. There was if you were getting a selfie with Mike, there was like a prize that was being given out for that. And Mike had on his webpage all the different locations he was going to be at throughout the convention. Obviously, during the convention, he was on the floor. He had executive council meetings and different things during that, but he'd be at different, events. He went to like a couple different events. We also had a campaign celebration on Wednesday night when he was nominated, and Ronnie Morgan was nominated and by acclamation became the new Region 3 business agent, which would be Mike's old position. So that was kind of a fun night to celebrate a little bit. But during prior to the convention starting and stuff, we were handing out a lot of cards, pins, buttons, all those different kind of things to people who were walking up or whatever. We had a raffle going on as well, a 50-50 raffle that was drawn on Friday. It was supposed to be drawn on Friday. So selling raffle tickets, I know I sold a decent portion of them, and I'm sure a bunch of other people did. I'm not sure exactly how many people were selling tickets, but we had a good dozen or more people definitely helping with the campaign. And it was cool for me. It's kind of the first time I did something like that at a national convention where I was participating in a campaign that actively. And I think this particular convention was going to be more of a setup for that because it was much more competition as far as spots for officers and especially president with 4 legitimate candidates. In the past, I don't think we had that kind of these kind of candidates where there's a lot of legitimate candidates for different positions. So which I think is healthy and I think is a good thing for the union overall. Occasionally there was some negative discourse, and that's the type of stuff I hope does stop in the future of name calling and direct mudslinging. And I mentioned some of that in an online post. I'm not going to go too deep into it here, but an F Caref was thrown out there and different things like that. And it's, that doesn't really help anything. You want to debate policy or whatever, that's great. On Mike's webpage, Caref for Prez, he has his entire platform on there. So you can read exactly what his plans are and how he plans on doing things as president. So, and he loves to engage and talk to the members about that, and he's always open to listening to them as well. So,
Now, is it
so we
true? Is it true you guys had those freeze dried Red Hots? Was that on Wednesday?
yeah, there was candy that
Man, I wish I had them.
Amber, I think her friend made that. And there
Yep.
was a couple different kinds she had, but that was one of them. Red Hots, I think another one was like kind of like Sour Patch Kids kind of one day too.
Well, someone
You
told me
know,
they did the Red Hots. Someone told me they did the Red Hots because of anger. Like because of the Mike dressed up as anger the one day.
that was on our stickers for sure. Yes, they
Yeah,
had red. Yes.
that was cool. It sticks to theme. I think that was very interesting. Man, I love Red Hots, so I'm a little bit upset I missed out on that, man. Because I do remember them having them on their cart or something like that, and I just walked past them and I didn't even know what they were. But I talked to Nora later on during the day. She was trying to get us to go to that celebration you were talking about, and I was hanging out with Alan Gigax because we had just recorded an episode together, which is going to drop on his show like in a couple weeks because he likes to keep them slated. But it wasn't the greatest show anyway, so I would have put it at the back end anyway if I were him. So hopefully you'll see it in a couple weeks. But either way, yeah, I heard that party was really cool, and you
It
guys were
was.
certainly loud when he was nominated, eh?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of noisemakers there in Region 3. I'm sure Region 3 was the loudest portion of the convention, but Mike's got supporters all over the country, and I'm sure there was a lot of people that were happy to see him being nominated. And yeah, at that night, he when pretty good setup by Brina, who is his kind of one of the kind of like a campaign managers, kind of, I guess you'd call it. Um, as soon as he walked in the bar, we had a big "We like Mike" chant. And there was people in the bar who weren't even carriers chanting "We like Mike, we like Mike." That was really cool. And it was just a fun night of celebrating. Obviously, now we have a lot of work to do to get Mike elected. Like I said, I expect it to be, a very competitive election here between the four candidates. So work's not done, but but I think you need to take those moments to celebrate those kind of things. It's a big moment. So
Now,
that was
while we're talking, is there any resolutions brought out during the last day that you think are particularly worth noting that were passed or not passed? Is there anything that you think was interesting?
well, during the convention, the locale pay, the legislative angle on it, that's tried to been passed many times. I think is more of a collective bargaining angle. I do think locale pay is is it's really become important because I think the cost of living in different parts of the country has kind of gotten further and further, bigger gaps, if you get what I mean, between especially like big cities like New York and Boston and Chicago versus some of the more rural areas. And some people may think that's fair or unfair, but when you're actually living in those or Seattle or something on a CCA salary, you're in poverty level wages at that point. Um, and the fact is, the federal government already has a setup for locale pay, and some of the other agencies like the VA and different things. So it's not like it's something they can't do. They already do it for, I think, was it Hawaii, Alaska, and is it Guam or Puerto Rico or something like that? I might be off on that last one for letter carriers. So, and it was also, I think it might have been the closest vote, or at least maybe the second closest vote when it came down to it. So you could tell is the unions really kind of, there's been a bit of a shift over time to where I think that got shut down pretty hard years and years ago, in the thinking of people, and maybe just because their living conditions have changed over the years. So I thought that one was really interesting. Um, I think there's a little more check and balance coming to the president when it comes to collective bargaining. I saw some of those resolutions, and I believe one of them passed. I can't remember the exact language off the top of my head right now because there's like four different ones, if I recall, and one of them passed. So I thought that was important. Um, I feel like there's one other one that really stuck out to me. I just can't think of off the top of my head, but
I'm going to
um,
throw a couple out there. My
yeah,
opinion is I was surprised to see the all career workforce and $30 an hour starting wage automatically pass without a vote because the executive council had already approved it. And, as you might already know, we all agreed to approve the ones that the executive council approved automatically. So that was cool.
Well, the all career one didn't really surprise me because if you listen to most of the national officers, they would like to go back to all career. Getting the
Well,
postal service on board is going to be a whole nother ball game, or
of
trying to
course.
force it through interest arbitration.
Well,
Um,
$30 starting an hour. That's where that's more surprising to me.
I agree. That one I
Yeah,
agree.
but yeah, and then of course I got to go out here and say because I haven't put it on my podcast yet, but National Agreement Resolution 63, no curtailment of first class mail. I was surprised that didn't pass, and that one certainly made me the villain of the convention because I went up there, did a teller vote. It looked real close, and just for the record, um, it looked a lot closer than it was. Standing up on that stage, it's the people standing. They blocked the people sitting, and some of the sitting people kind of looked standing. The perimeter was mostly standing, in the middle was mostly sitting. So there was kind of a little bit of geometry I had to do, which is like my least favorite subject too. I didn't know which was bigger, and you can actually see me talking about that on the live video. They cut out me and Brian's most of our conversation, but they do put in there the part where I say, "Hey, the outside looks like it's thicker, and the middle looks like it's thinner," and it's like I didn't know which one had it, but it certainly looked like more than 600 people stood up, and as it turned out, I was absolutely wrong, and everyone thought I was doing a photo op or something silly. I just want to say I was not. And Brian Renfro thought it was reasonable when I called for division, and he didn't seem like it was unreasonable when we were talking about the different. But yeah, they got to fix that. They got to fix the way it looks because especially for those folks like myself or whoever who was on the stage once, someone like Brian, he might be able to tell a little bit better because he's on there the whole time and he knows over time. I'm sure he looks at it all day and knows what looks better and what looks worse. But as for us, we got to figure that out. I bet I would have been able to make a better judgment on the floor. Maybe that's what I should have did. But
what was the more exact wording of that? Like resolutions. Maybe there's a reason
well,
had a
that's
harder time.
that's another thing I'd like to mention. So the wording after I had already lost the teller vote,
Mm-hmm.
my Region 6 NBA came up to me and actually specifically told me that if I would have changed something, it would have been reasonable to pass the executive board's approval, which was unfair because they should have told me that. Like they were complaining about how if we use the ODL and auxiliary assistance to the maximum extent, it would be too much forcing, and that the law technically supersedes our contract. But it does either way. It doesn't matter if this passes or not. You know what I mean? If that were the
Right.
case. But the problem is, my business agent told me if I would have put contractual limitations, it would have been fine. Well, why didn't they tell me that at the mic? They did that with the legislative one. Paul Barner didn't even say what was wrong with my legislative one. All he said was a vote of disapproval. And by the way, if you strike out paragraph 3, it would be acceptable. Why didn't they do that with this one? I don't know.
Right, because I was just thinking, if it was more of like you know, they won't delay the mail unless there's like a safety reason, an Article 3 emergency, maybe the carriers have all reached their overtime limit, like in those circuit, a more
Well,
less broad, I guess, maybe they would have been more
thir-
accepting of it. I'm not sure
39.
what I exactly said off the top of my head either.
So if you look at the whereases, just for everyone's information, 39 U.S. Code 101, which was referenced extensively, it already allows for an exception for safety issues or where not possible. So, like,
Yeah.
and I've already used it in a very loose manner locally, grievance wise, because it's not 3F. 3F is much more stricter. This is emergency as defined by the law. I don't know how the law defines that, so I'm going to be safer than sorry and say, okay, well, it's not a 3F emergency. It's a little bit looser definition. But yeah, then the only other thing that I thought was interesting to note was it was interesting that we passed things we didn't even get to see because we automatically approved everything, and some of the some of the resolutions were not actually got to, but they were approved by the executive board. So there were things that we approved that we had not even looked at yet by the end of the convention. I thought that was interesting because we're going to find that out later on. Hopefully, it's not anything that's crazy.
Yeah, well, I thought they only approved things that were in the book.
I hope so.
I
I hope
think
so.
I think someone tried that other resolution, and I believe I think it was going to pass. It got shot down because we had already passed the other resolution, which would have made it in conflict. I thought that actually was discussed on Friday, in the morning.
Now, what do you think about the convention as a whole? And then the last day, do you think the mood of the convention was much different on the last day than it was as a whole?
Well, convention overall, like I said, it was a really good time to, some camaraderie, especially the opening reception. I got to talk to a lot of people from around the country. That I've been in trainings with, whether it's advocate training or DRT training, different things like that I've been involved with or work with, or just, I moderate a social media page with or whatever. So that's great. Because, a lot of times I don't get very many opportunities to catch up with people that I see from around the country, at least not face to face, and the festive atmosphere, a lot of the stuff we did afterwards, Fixins was a really good place to eat. I highly recommend it if anybody's ever in LA. Really good food there. The morning classes, classes were very good. I was in the CAU class. He even had a little, exchange with Barner, respectful exchange or whatever, but just kind of trying to talk about the interpretive issue that's holding up a lot of the escalated remedy grievances. We're asking for payments to the union, kind of trying to get a more defined timeline on what was going on with that. But there was other classes I went into, risk management, and I learned a couple of things as a branch officer I really wasn't aware of that could cause our branch problems. I'm definitely going to bring back to our branch, and we're going to discuss as an executive board and try to figure out the best way to handle it.
Well, for the interpretive issue, what was the update? What they tell us?
Well, he said that the parties were exchanging what's called 15-day letters. And so I got up to the mic and asked him, well, how long ago did you guys send out these letters? Because I'm trying to well, they're not really, we call them 15-day letters, but there's not really a 15-day timeline, is what Barner said. And I'm going off top of my head while I'm in the class. I'm not really sure what the language says in Article 15 on that. When it comes to interpretive arbitration, it's not something I'm an expert on at all, for sure. So I'm like, well, then why are they called 15-day letters? Because then they have, so many days. Then they have to, I guess, another 30 days to try to work things out before actually scheduling an arbitration. And then they got to get solicited dates from Nolan, who's the only national arbitrator right now. So he gave a very broad timeline. It could be 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 months. So he really wouldn't commit to anything firm on a timeline for that. And, and technically, since he's not running again in 3 or 4 months, it's really not going to be his kind of call anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I'm just glad that they're actually going to get through it one day, hopefully. I don't know. Hopefully sooner than later, because it's not good to hold up all these grievances, and I think that's their plan, unfortunately, with Article 15. I know they said that they want to get rid of Step B. I don't think this is going to make it any better.
Yeah, that's why we really need to push this issue in front of the arbitrator and get our answer, because the Postal Service will let this stuff sit forever. They don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, other than that, you know what? I honestly don't have much more to say. What do you think about the facilitators of those classes? Do you think they did a very good job?
And the ones I was in, yes, like I said, it was that one. It was also one about like research, on different tools that the NALC has, which a lot of them I was aware, but there's a couple new things I learned in there too. And we had there's a lot of different presenters in there, one from our region. And overall, they all seem very knowledgeable and they're able to talk about the subject well. And every national convention I've been to, which hasn't been to many yet, but the classes have been definitely one of the highlights of it. As for I think you did ask about the last day of the convention. I didn't really get to that yet, but yeah, I think people were starting to get ready to go home as it started getting close to 11 o'clock or whatever. You're getting some of that. And if you notice, it started thinning out. These votes became much smaller, and And look, people had flights to catch based on us ending at noon, not based on us ending at 3 o'clock. So a lot of people just had to go.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that we ran over, but and I think if I had a critique on national for the convention, it was you knew you had way more resolutions and way more constitutional amendments than normal, but you tried to run the same old schedule. Realistically, you should have known that wasn't going to work.
Absolutely. That's
There should have
my,
been better
yep.
planning ahead of time instead of okay, on day 3 now we're just going to try to jam everything in. And it really didn't work. From my understanding, it didn't finish everything. So
Yeah, that's my one takeaway is, and I have a solution, not that it's the right solution, it's just my best idea right now, but of course there probably is a better way to do it. I'm not a genius when it comes to running conventions here, but my personal opinion is I feel like oftentimes the folks who want to listen to Brian Renfro talk about how he uh, defeated the Postal Service from being put into the, talk about politics, the Commerce Department, blah, 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 all that stuff. So there's a folk who want to listen to that. And the overlap isn't the greatest when it comes to the folks who want to learn contract and all that kind of thing. There are overlaps, but it's not like the biggest overlap in the world. So I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to say, look, we got the pop in circumstance in the morning. You can either do that or you can go to your classes. You can pick whichever one you like better. I don't see why not. Why can't we do something like that? That way you don't run into the business, because that Monday was the worst. And I know it's normal. This is my first convention, but everyone tells me this is what happens every time. But that Monday, it was 4 hours of pomp and circumstance and 1 hour of business. And that entire hour of business was debating on changing the rules. So it wasn't even scheduled. So it was just like, what are we doing here? That was the Monday was the day we lost the most progress. And I guess it's a normal thing, but whatever. I think that's the one big takeaway. But just in case anyone doesn't know who John Poskin is, he's like a genius. He's like the Joe Glonka of another area. That's who I got over here in Michigan is Joe Glonka. And we got John Poskin wherever he's from. And he's a genius. He's a great contract enforcer. He talks online a lot, gives good advice. We might not always agree on opinions, but that's how the contract works. So if you want to go add John, you should do so on Facebook. He's a good guy. But is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I don't know about being compared to Joe. That guy's got, I think, since the 70s, and I swear he's like the encyclopedia of the entire LC history and everything. I definitely don't want to be in that ballpark. I don't think I can match that. But just look, everybody, check out the Caref campaign, Caref for Prez campaign. Do your research on all the candidates and find out who you think's the best fit for our union. And then after the selection's over, I just really hope we are more unified than we are right now. I feel like at times with a lot of the name calling and different things out there, I see some podcasters doing, some people on social media. It's just not healthy. We're all brothers and sisters here. We all are the NELC. Healthy debate and disagreement, those are healthy, and we should have those things. But the just blatant below the belt kind of stuff, that's just uncalled for, and it's not productive. If anything, it's counterproductive. It'll make people less likely to want to be part of the union. So, and then check out the Care for Prez campaign on careforprez.org. Check it out.
All right. You heard it here, folks. It was good having you on, John.
Appreciate the invite, brother. Good talking with you. And I always like when we debate some stuff online as well. It's always enjoyable, brother.
Yeah, we'll have John on again at some point talking about contract stuff. But just like this is the last of the several updates for the convention, so I'm going to put the last of my shout outs at the end of this episode, and hopefully you learned something valuable today. As always, have a good day.
All right, I'm Rob Carson from Branch 4, Nashville, Tennessee. Shout out to everybody in Hermitage. We're out here trying to kick some ass.
Conrad Shantz, Branch 229. I want to give a shout out to Chris, Mike, Drake, Jared Miner, Donald Hemphill, everyone else. You know who you are. Shout out Pueblo. Shout out Colorado. Thanks for showing up in numbers and good work.
And shout out to Conrad for doing what was right and trying to get Robert's rules taken care of here at the convention.
I want to give a shout out to my awesome branch president, Brian Barnes, branch 234, Owensboro, Kentucky.
No, that's good. I got it. I'd like to make a shout out to branch 950, Abilene, Texas. I want to let all my board members know, my executive board, Chad Hood, Cliff Kurt, Ron Udi, Trudy Cornelison, Danny Drury. If I forgot anybody, I apologize. Keith Bronson. I appreciate all that you guys do. Thank you.
Hey, it's Colin Walker, currently branch 27. It's day 5, hopefully, of the NALC convention. Just shouting out all the branches I've been through in my career, starting in Anchorage, Alaska at 4319, St. Paul, Minnesota at branch 28, and finally down here in Memphis, Tennessee, branch 27. For all of you guys at home, think this is a vacation for these guys. They are not having fun. I just need to promise you that.
Hey, I'm Sean Galbraith, branch 183. I want to thank all my members for sending me here this exciting event. I want to thank my president for supporting us and all those officers everywhere who step up because no one else does.
Tyler Vassar, branch 9, Minneapolis. It's been a long week so far, but I think we're finally going to get to some business today. I think second on the docket is right to strike. Later on today, we'll hear our fund services, not war resolution. I'm really looking forward to that discussion and that debate, and it's important to have these sorts of discussions within the union. So shout out to Branch 9 in Minneapolis.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Shout out to the mighty Branch 9 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name is Kathy Jones, and it has been an inspiring week. I ran for AFL-CIO delegate, and I was so inspired to see 30 people running. Keep pushing, keep fighting. We're going to change this union. We're going to make it better. Everybody vote CLC come the fall, and let's get to work.
Hi, my name is Derek Simpson. I'm from Branch 1100, and I was also an AFL-CIO delegate for the CLC. Right now at Branch 1100, we're appealing our election that we had in 2025. We had almost 18% of our members didn't receive a ballot. We have over 7,000 members. That's 1,312 members did not receive ballots. So we're appealing the election. We think it's unfair that how it was sent, how National denied us our appeal. So now we're going to bring it to the members. Thank you very much.
I'm Philip Lobato from Branch 111 in Utah, and I just want to say shout out to all my postal people out there doing the hard work in the heat, and they're making it work for us. So keep doing it.
What up? This is Scotty D, Golden Spike Branch, Ogden, Utah, 68. My shout outs to Joshua Schrum because he makes it happen for all of us. Look forward to hearing my own voice on your podcast. Thanks, Josh.
I'd like to make out a shout out to all the members of Branch 464 for their support. We will be coming back from this convention with a whole lot of information. Thank you for allowing us to be able to come. And we hope all of you are being safe in the weather they're having down there on the coast now. Thank you.
I want to shout out to our president and our executive vice president from Capital Branch 142, Keith Hooks, and executive president Karen Nance. Thanks, doing a good job.
Lisa Kuhn with Branch 916. I just want to give a shout out to my branch. Eugene, Oregon merged with Bend, Eastern Oregon, Branch 916. You guys are awesome. Standing here with the wonderful and lovely Debbie Dixon, who has always been a gem to our branch and has always been ready and available for help.
Hi, I'm Linda Smuda, Branch 916, retired. Yay. I don't get to get a hold of Debbie anymore like I used to whenever I needed help, and she was there, always there, answering the phone, or at least making sure she called back as soon as possible to help resolve the issues we had in our union. And I'm hoping that she wins the ticket that she's wanting to win, and good luck, Debbie. I miss you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I want to do one? Okay. This is Debbie Dixon from Branch 351. I'm a candidate for Region 2 NBA. Hope you get out there and put your vote in for me. And I do want to give a shout out. Maybe it's a little different. I want to give a shout out to my mom and my children my daughter, my two sons. They have supported me through everything. They've been with me, not physically here in LA, going through the nomination process, but they're in my heart. They are with me. So I'd like to give a shout out to my family and say thank you for almost giving me 40 years worth of support in this union adventure. So thank you very much.
Okay, this is Eric Ellis, Branch 231, Fresno, California. So yesterday from the mic, we did a memorial for Santos Garcia, our former vice president, who passed away several months ago at the age of 69. He was our former vice president, but he was also active in political and legislative affairs. After his retirement, he ran for city council in Madera, served a term, and then ran for mayor, won as well. So he served one term as as mayor of Madera, California. Madera is just north of Fresno, has a population of roughly 70,000 people. So it just goes to show that letter carriers are respected in communities, and a reminder that after you retire, it's important that you stay active in political matters.
Hey, good morning. My name's Anita Guzik. I'm running for Director of Retirees. We have 94,000 retirees in this country, and I'm looking forward to working with all of them. Vote for the CLC. Thank you.
What's up, everybody? This is Howard, the Big Kahuna, Branch 860. I want to give a shout out to all my brothers and sisters who support the CLC, and to all those podcasters that are here working hard, especially this guy, the Wrecking Ball. Thanks, Josh.
All right, just want to thank everyone for Branch 39, as well as all of our national officers and all our tellers and all of our crew staff who have made this convention so awesome this week. Thank you all.
If these guys are getting educated, we will be in big trouble.
Management's been weighing you down like a bag of wet catalogs, but you don't gotta take it. You strap on the elbow of education, dig it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God, we need Article 8 scholars right now. The Grievous Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball doing amazing work.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.